Now, our next speaker might just love evidence and data about as much as I do. Michael Rich leads RAND, one of the world's most important think tanks in so many areas, from national defense to technology to economics to public health and safety and so many other fields. There's very little in our world where RAND experts have not advised the United States government and world leaders, and where they haven't played an extraordinary role in doing the empirical research to ground some of what we do in public policy. Michael's played critical roles in advising world leaders and in growing the RAND enterprise. He actually started at RAND, I think perhaps even when he was in law school. He spent a little time at RAND, and then after law school began there professionally, and he became CEO and president of RAND in 2011. Welcome, let's offer a warm welcome to Michael Rich. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. It's great for me to be back. I guess I'm the longest, from my standpoint, this is the longest time I've had since returning. I was the class of 1976. I did not go very far, at least geographically, from UCLA. I started, as Dean Mnuchin said, on the research staff of RAND, headquartered in Santa Monica. And I'm going to mark my 40th anniversary there next week. RAND is often called a think tank. It's many times referred to as the quintessential think tank. It's not an inaccurate description, but it's not really precise either. We're really more a combination of a think tank, a consultancy, and a university. We have a large doctoral program as well. So I guess career-wise, I did travel pretty far from UCLA Law. I've never litigated a case. I've never conducted a deposition. I've never overseen the closure of a big deal. But just so you know, I don't harbor any ill will towards the profession. I'm married, a practicing lawyer, a classmate, in fact, and in January, that'll be anniversary number 37. But there's one aspect of my UCLA training that I have come to rely on, and that's advocacy. But I haven't advocated on behalf of an individual client's interest, but I have advocated for the notion that public policy should be rooted in and based on facts and rigorous research and analysis. This is, it turns out, consistent with what RAND was established to do nearly 70 years ago. And I've seen over and over again the power of facts and analysis in helping public policymakers come to good decisions. And I'll just give you a few examples just from the last year or two. Analysis can surface important policy problems that were previously undetected or underappreciated. And the example I think of is the RAND research that quantified the psychological and cognitive injuries from modern combat, the extent of those. Analysis can also shape public investments in important ways, public investment strategies. And here I think of the RAND analysis that showed that educating inmates reduces the likelihood that they will reoffend and be reincarcerated. And every dollar that's spent on correctional education saves taxpayers up to $5 in correctional costs. And analysis can help change long-standing policies and practices, as when the RAND research showed that opening the military to gay, lesbian, transgender service members and opening combat occupations to women would have negligible effects on readiness and cohesion. So RAND has changed, as Dean Mnuchin said, in many ways since I started my career. It's larger, it's more international, we're more geographically dispersed. But the basic mission of the institution has not changed, and that's because rigorous, objective research and analysis has really never been more important than it is today. And so we're working on a lot of really hard problems: healthcare reform, opioid addiction, obesity, the rise of China, renewed Russian aggression, Al-Shabaab, ISIS, the stresses of urbanization and climate extremes, personalized learning, teaching effectiveness, autonomous cars, commercial drones, costs of dementia, I mean, a lot, 1,700 projects at any one time. But these challenges are coming at a very unusual and I think very dangerous point in history. Because today, people not only feel entitled to their opinions, and rightly so, but some also feel entitled to cherry-pick facts to support their opinions, or even commission up a new set of facts when necessary to promote their ideas. There seem to be more politicized research centers cropping up every year. There's more avowedly partisan ones each year as well. And sometimes it seems to me you can now get a report from some think tank to support pretty much any policy position that you want to promote. In short, just as we're facing some of the most complex policy challenges, we also have to contend with an epidemic of what I've been calling truth decay. Now, as president of maybe one of the world's leading institutions in the public policy world, one that is increasingly unique, we're nonpartisan, we're non-ideological, evidence-driven, I'm often asked if truth decay is a threat to RAND. And you bet, it's a big threat to RAND. But RAND really isn't the issue. I think truth decay is a threat to the entire society, the society as a whole. Let me tell you a quick story in this regard. About 30 years ago, the United States Senate did something that I think in hindsight seems extraordinary. It voted to ratify an international treaty, I think it's known as the Montreal Protocol, that phased out the use of CFCs. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember CFCs. These are organic chemical compounds used in aerosols, refrigerants, and some other places. The vote was unanimous, and it was, I think, a real triumph of bipartisanship. But it was also a triumph of research and analysis, of fact over opinion, of evidence over ideology. Because for years, scientists and other experts, including a lot at the RAND Corporation, had assembled and analyzed data that showed that these CFCs were eating away at the ozone layer of the Earth. The issue, though, was not without controversy. There were skeptics, there were deniers, and scientists acknowledged that they could not prove that human activity was to blame. RAND analysis, relying then on the best available evidence, helped by framing the issue in a completely different way, one based on probabilities instead of certainty. And all 88 senators present on March 14th, 1988, united around one set of rigorous objective analyses based on one common set of facts. So Mitch McConnell voted the same way as Ted Kennedy. And how many of us can imagine something like that happening today? Which brings me back to truth decay, because when everyone has their own facts, really then nobody has any facts, and our democracy, which is of course founded on principle that some truths should be self-evident, I think democracy grinds to a halt. A polarization that is inflamed by truth decay, in my judgment, is the gravest threat facing America. And that's because virtually no important problem, certainly none that we're working on, can be solved. Really no bold initiative can be completed in the span of a 2-year Congress and a 4-year presidential administration. None of them. It's just not enough time to negotiate and ratify a major trade deal, defeat an insurgency, reform one of our safety net programs, plan and carry out a large infrastructure project. None of them. Policymakers have to collaborate constructively to get these kinds of big things accomplished. Now, a policy debate that features different interpretations of the same facts, that's healthy. That promotes compromise and consensus. But a policy debate that is basically just opinions about opinions without a solid basis in fact, in my judgment, that's a recipe for gridlock. So when Dean Mnookin invited me to come and speak today and said I could speak about a topic of my choice, I knew this would be it, because I think about this a lot, truth decay. So we're facing a wide array of very complex, interconnected, and seemingly intractable challenges. Protecting ourselves in an age of cyber espionage and cyber warfare, growing megacities that are sprawling virtually on every continent, often right on the coastline, developing human capital in an era of globalization and rapid technological change. The list goes on and on. None of these problems, in my judgment, may ever be completely solved. But I think that helping policymakers anticipate and respond on the basis of sustained analysis, relying on facts without spin, facts without shading, that's the only way to keep them from spinning out of control, and it's the best way to manage them effectively. And frankly, truth decay, this phenomenon is making it harder and harder to deal with problems of that sort. But it's also making me and a lot of my colleagues at RAND a lot more determined, because if you want to improve the world, we've found you need to begin with facts. So thank you for the opportunity to share.